So welcome everybody to our GSX Town Hall on learning from iconic sustainable buildings. It's great to have you all here with us today. And I think we have people from Philippines, Singapore, Malaysia, US. We have Bangladesh. We have a couple of people from Bangladesh as well, which is great. So welcome everyone who has joined us tonight. And we are really looking forward to get this evening going with some exciting case studies. And the topic for tonight is really colorful and rich in terms of giving us insights into what some buildings have done to make sustainability, both from an environmental, from a social point of view, happen within the building project, the built environment. And there will be some very interesting things as well about the benefits of it, the cost, and other issues. I will start with a poll at the beginning, just to get a little bit of a feeling for where our audience is today. And here are the questions. You can basically have a multiple choice answers here. Which statements do you agree with? Sustainable buildings are expensive and difficult to afford. You can save construction costs with sustainable buildings. The ROI is fast enough to justify the expense. Making a factory green will be difficult. All buildings should be sustainable and healthy, and it's too difficult to build green and healthy. So share what you feel is most appropriate. I'll give you a little bit more time to answer the questions. We have about 70% of people already answered. And let me end the poll now, and I'll share the results with you. Wow, we have a very positive audience tonight. 95% of you are saying all buildings should be sustainable and healthy. Then next one up is really the statement, you can save construction costs with sustainable buildings. The ROI is fast enough. And then it's too difficult to build green. Making a factory green will be difficult, or sustainable buildings are expensive and difficult to afford. Nobody. So everybody tonight is already convinced that this is the right way to go. That's quite amazing in a way. And that means we have a very much of an insider audience, an audience of believers that already are very much convinced that sustainable buildings is the way to go. Now, I have the pleasure now to introduce Mr. MD Fazlul Hoque. He's the CEO of Plummy Fashion Ltd in Bangladesh. I know him personally. I met him in Bangladesh. I met him in Manila at the Asian Development Bank event focused on how the private sector can contribute to sustainable development. And I was amazed about his factory, the story that he shared with me, how he actually constructed it, what he did to make it happen, and how he could achieve the highest lead points of any factory at that point in time in the world. So Fazlul, I would like to invite you to share your screen with your PowerPoint presentation and give us the overview over your case study. You need, you unmute yourself. Looks
yes,
like you're
unmute.
Yes, yeah. Yes.
You were supposed to help me with my presentation as we discussed yesterday.
Yes. Let me actually do that. And
that will be better.
Put up your presentation slides.
And meantime, I should seek apology because there is no normal electricity supply at my area right at this moment. So I am under emergency light. So maybe I'm looking a bit dark. I'm not sure because.
Yes, what I suggest you can do, you can already start sharing your story, because I need to just pull up your presentation.
Okay. Thank you. Good morning, good evening, everybody, according to your time zone. And thank you, Matthias, for inviting me to join this prestigious gathering. And I would like, as Mr. Matthias already introduced, that we are the most sustainable and environment-friendly factory set up at that time, way back in 2015. we claim that we are the greenest factory across the world. But in last couple of years, there are a couple of factories from Indonesia and Bangladesh also scored a bit higher point than we scored. But still, in the knitwear sector, where our factory are grouped in the knitwear sector, still we are having the highest number in the lead group. We scored 92 out of possible 110. And that's actually, that's our company name is Plummy Fashion Ltd. And we introduced this idea when many people did not know about the lead and this effort in Bangladesh, and especially it is somehow coincide with the initiative with the tragic incident in Bangladesh in the government sector, Rana Plaza. And that somehow, that is another story, but because of time limitation, I would not like to share this story. But that incident actually prompted us to do something very positive, that we can offset the bad name we earned because of this incident. And we are very happy as of today that Plummy Fashions now in Bangladesh became the trendsetter in the apparel sector. So whoever is now coming in the apparel sector with the new investment, they are going for the LEED certification. Either it is for LEED Platinum, LEED Gold, or LEED Silver, whatever. But they think if they cannot have a LEED certification, they cannot sustain in the market from a competition perspective. So we are very happy, we are proud, and that we could set a good trend, very positive trend, and very sustainable trend in the apparel industry. And as next slide, please. And I will just share with you some features. And this is the summary of the whole story, that we scored 92, and there is the breakup of the numbers. And those who are very familiar with the lead, you can easily understand. But in summary, that we are 40% efficient in the energy use. We have 41% efficiency in water use, and we have 35% efficiency in terms of carbon emissions. So that is the three, the major pillar that we always focus when we go. But there are other facilities I will just share in the next slides. And this is just a photograph that we also received the highest award of the land. And we are as of today, we are the only garments factory who received the highest award of the land, National Award on Environment. And I was personally receiving the award from our Honorable Prime Minister. And next slide is the summary of the whole story. I will just describe in the next slides. Next slide, please. And this is just a drone picture of the Plummy Fashions, that how strategically we are located, because we are very strategically located as per the LEED requirement, that if you have what they call the sustainable location. Sustainable location means you should have some facilities, workers' housing facility, their shopping facility, their praying facility, their children's school facility should be within 500 meters. So that we can save a lot of energy in terms of the transportation of workers. And we are very strategically located that we could achieve all this requirement from LEED. And this is just a drone picture. And this is the shower facility for the workers. This is very unique. I know that's as a LEED certified factory, we encourage our workers to use bicycle instead of motorized vehicle to save fuel. And we build up a cycle stand. You can see the left corner of the picture, the partial cycle stand. And you know, this is Bangladesh is a tropical country, and those who are riding cycle, they should be sweating inside. And before joining the work, they're allowed to, and they're encouraged to go for shower to be fresh and then joining their workplace. And this is very unusual because I never see it in any factory before, that there are certain very top class shower facility for the thousands of the workers. And this is we did as per the LEED requirement. This is a view that as per LEED Platinum requirement, not only that we have to score 80 points out of 110, but there are a few other requirements. And one of these is that you have to have 50% open area. And in our factory, this is a part of the whole scenario. You can see how beautiful it looks. It is my factory, so I always feel very happy to see this factory. But whoever visited the factory, like Matthias, that everybody just at least say wow to see the factory. As I was telling in a small gathering yesterday, it looks like a resort, and it looks like today even it's better because the greenery even more in the factory. And in our factory we have almost 65% open area. It is required 50%, but we have 65% open area. This is a couple of pictures here, but there are other open area as well. And here is the, we have, as per LEED requirement, we should have a water body inside to maintain the natural tranquility, and that we had to make this water body. But this water body also helping us as a part of saving the rainwater. But this is not only the reservoir. There are 7 other underground reservoir in the different location to preserve the rainwater, and we use this rainwater for toilet flush. That's underground reservoir. And this reservoir, it is for natural tranquility, it is for the natural beauty, and also it is a huge source of water in case of firefighting. We have the dedicated firefighting reservoir, but this additional we calculated we have 6 million liter water available in this water body. It is a multi-dimensional benefit we are getting out of this water body. And this is the air cooling system. We ensured that very comfortable.
Fazlul, are you still there? I can't hear him anymore. Maybe with this emergency lighting and the electricity being struggling there in Bangladesh, it seems like we have lost him. Are you still there, Fazlul?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Cannot? No, it is okay. Yeah, this is just is a picture of the construction time, that we had to use the local raw materials as much as possible to save the energy, to save the fuel, to bring the
I think his internet connection is a little bit unstable, but this is really the example showing the use of local materials as well. Partially, they used recycled materials. They tried to include local suppliers to increase the positive local impact on the local community. So this is the material sourcing part. Then they installed as well a CO2 monitoring system. This is very important from a point of view of air quality, workers' health and safety. Do you have enough fresh air coming in? And particularly now in a time where we have COVID risk, this is even more critical. Your level of CO2 in the occupied areas is actually an indication of have you got fresh air inside. If it's 800 parts per million going up to 1,000, then there is a lack of fresh air coming in. You can see here on the screen 518 parts per million, very high level of fresh air in there, because it's very close to 420, which would be about the ambient indication. So here we have the natural lighting from the skylight. I can continue his presentation because I visited the factory myself, but I think you're back again, right, Fazlul?
Yeah. You're
Continue.
correctly saying that this is the skylight. This is very. We had to import it from US. This is US product, and this is skylight.
It's a nightmare.
This was actually fascinating when I was there. I was on the top floor where the workers were working without artificial light. You know, even in a garment factory where it comes down to the detail of doing a good job, diligent job, the natural light that was coming through these skylights on the top floor was sufficient for the operational activities inside of the factory. And here we have the water fixtures, very efficient, 60% more efficient, urinals dual flush, big, small flush, and water fixtures having as well a low flow rate. You know, this is about sometimes when you are in buildings, you put the water on and you can feel with the pressure of the water, there's a gigantic amount of water flowing through. But these are the ones that actually have a low flow rate to have water efficiency. And certified woods were as well brought in, FSC certified, to make sure there is no cutting down of virgin forests, but sustainably managed forests that have been used. I think we will see a renaissance of wood as a building material because it absorbs carbon. So it is really a carbon sink. As long as it comes from sustainable sources or reused sources, it's actually very good because it locks the carbon in the long term. So this is as well very, very important for future construction. If we can have natural materials, natural biomass, I think that will be very good. And then one great feature as well is the 65 kilowatt capacity of solar that's been installed on the roof as well to power parts of the factory. It's about 13% of the total power required. I was as well very impressed when I was there in the canteen. The canteen is a totally open design, all fresh air, all natural lighting. You know, if there's any smell, it can immediately move out because it's a very open concept. So all of the design features were optimized from an environmental point of view. And this was one of my favorites because Fazlul asked me at the end of visiting his wastewater treatment plant, Matthias, why don't you take a sip of water? Would you do that? Normally, in any garment factory in Bangladesh, you would not dare to touch their water at the end of the effluent treatment plant. But here, it is cleaned up to such a level that it has drinking water quality. And if I remember correctly, Fazlul is as well using non-toxic dyes. So he has a lot of customers in Europe. He has some customers even that are using organic cotton, eco-friendly raw material, combine that with dyes that are more eco-friendly and an absolutely excellent wastewater treatment plant. And you have a great supplier that doesn't put a big famous European or North American brand at risk because everything they do is in place. Even on a social front, how you treat your employees, the labor conditions there were very, very good. We can see that as well in one of the future slides. So worker safety, there is a child care center, there's firefighting, medical facilities, the dining hall, locker facilities, separate operational buildings as well reduces the risk if something goes wrong, if there's a fire, there's training and development, up-to-date warehousing, and daily management briefing. So really training, treating your employees well and fair, giving them fair wages, fair labor conditions, all implemented here. Here's the child care center. This is as well, I think, unique in some countries like Bangladesh, where really the female workers who would usually be expected to look after the kids can have their kids be in the child care center and they can earn a wage and they can have a career. I think this is an excellent example how it really should be. And then you get workers being very committed to your organization. So employee training and development, very, very effective, very proactive, really building up the competency and capacity within the organization. Energy efficient sewing machines that were procured for the whole factory. So this is the amazing story of Plummy Fashion from Bangladesh, an incredible factory inspired by the MD CEO Fazlul Hoque, who really wanted to show that Bangladesh can do something differently. And I'm sorry that you had the power challenges and the sound challenges, but I hope you're okay with me finishing the presentation on your behalf. But hopefully later on, when we have the Q&A section, you can contribute additional inputs, Fazlul.
Thank you, Matthias. Thank you, Matthias, for supporting me. Anyway, carry on yourself. I'm sorry with this electricity problem.
Yeah, no problem, no problem. I think we got through it very well. I would now like to ask Myrrh Caplan, the Senior Sustainability Director at Skanska USA, to give us her innovative presentation of the case study, Kendeda Building for Innovative Sustainable Design. And I will stop sharing the slides here, and I will let Myrrh present hers. And I saw a glimpse of it yesterday. It will be a very interesting way of visiting a building virtually.
Yeah, so we're going to go. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, excellent.
Yep. We're going to go a little unconventional, at least for me. Typically, I'm doing a big presentation with lots of slides and lots of content. We're going to go a different way because we have this great opportunity to use a new video that we did of the building. And so hopefully you don't get a little seasick from flying to different places because the camera, of course, is going to take us through the building. So once again, my name is Myrrh Caplan. I am the Senior Sustainability Director for Skanska in the US, and I lead our sustainability advising work. As well, I lead a number of our corporate initiatives around healthy buildings and community engagement and other things. We are a global construction and development firm operating in about a dozen countries around the world. And you can find us on the NASDAQ Stockholm Stock Exchange. And if you were with us a couple of months ago when I presented before, I went through a lot of what we're involved in, things like the World Economic Forum, the UN Global Compact. And of course, we're working side by side with organizations like the International Living Future Institute, International Well Building Institute, and others. So anyway, there's a lot of information about us on our website and just out there in the world. I won't take up much of our time with that. So this is the project. This building is in Atlanta, Georgia. If you've ever been to Atlanta, Georgia, or read anything about it, you know that it is hot and humid. So the concept of doing a very deep green building in that kind of climate comes with additional challenges to your normal, normal building type. This is a completely new building. It used to be a parking lot, by the way, so much improvement over that. It's basically made up of classrooms and laboratories. There's offices, there's an auditorium. There's a roof garden, which I'm excited. I'm going to show you that. It's about 37,000 square feet of conditioned space and about 47,000 in total space. And it was funded through an organization called the Kendeda Fund, and that's why it's called the Kendeda Building. They provided money for both the construction as well as future programming for the space because they felt that the ongoing education and benefit to the community needed to be included to ensure that happened. So we had a little bit of a wordsmithing on the flyer in that this is not yet a Living Building Challenge certified project, but it will be very soon. It is pursuing both LEED Platinum, which it will get by with flying colors on that, as well as Living Building Challenge. Probably a number of you already are aware of Living Building Challenge and its requirements. It's an all or nothing program. It's the most stringent green building certification in the world. And it's built based on petals. So, if you think of a flower, it's got all of these criteria, such as place and water and energy and health and beauty and equity. And like I said, those are all or nothing. You have to achieve every single component of those petals in order to get certified. So there's not very many of these in the world. So once again, doing it in Atlanta had its own challenges, but it is now, even before certification, being lauded as one of the most iconic sustainable buildings in the world, because it is fairly large scale compared to other Living Building Challenge projects around. So let's go into the building a bit. This gentleman right here, I love this guy. This is Sean Aurora. He is the director of this building, and he's been a wonderful partner for the whole process. He is the client, and we've just had a wonderful relationship with him. And if you've worked on one of these deep green projects, you know that that relationship with the client and with the other partners that are involved is probably the most important aspect in terms of getting things done and done well. You really have to have unbelievable levels of communication and participation across the board. So it's very much an integrated approach. So I'm just going to take you inside here, just so you can kind of see the interior a bit, and then we'll jump around topics. So this program is called Matterport. Typically, if you hear about this program being used, it is in existing facilities where a construction company like us are trying to get really, really finite details in terms of connection points or where existing utilities are, right? So this application of it, by having it used in a building that's complete, and we're adding in pinpointed links to videos and to stories and to, like informational bits about, here's how you could do it yourself kind of thing. This is very much an educational building because it is on an educational campus, but also with the intent of furthering the story and furthering people's commitment to trying to go for net positive. So since I'm clicked on one of the energy ones, I'll jump into some of the energy data. So this building is 1/3 the energy, or we'll use 1/3 the energy of a typical building. It's got an EUI, energy use intensity of 32, and it uses 900 plus solar panels on the roof to do much of that. But, as most of you know, the important thing about coming to net positive or even net zero is that you reduce as much as you can inside. You incorporate as many passive strategies as you can before you look to adding renewables to the building. Under the Living Building Challenge, you have to exceed what your anticipated load is going to be by a good percentage. So this building is actually going to be producing 120% of the energy it would typically need, or what was forecast as being needed to operate this building. But that was, also after all these great strategies, like these massive, and I'm going to say a bad word, big ass fans, because that is the brand name of the fans, is Big Ass. So look them up. It's a great company. We've used them for many. And so we also have, besides the ceiling fans, we have radiant heating and cooling in the floor. And so really it's a very passive system, but it's doing great things. It's going to, and for those of you who are kind of into the MEP space, we're doing DOAS here with a thermal wheel. So it's a very efficient system, closed loop, and takes care of the energy and humidity back on that wheel side of it. All right, I can't really see that one behind the bubbles. For the imperative, the Living Building Challenge imperative of beauty, There's a number of things that are happening here. So, you know, as you can tell, there's a lot of natural products in place here, mostly wood, but there's some others as well. And so there's a few because two things. One, you know, when you're doing this well, your carbon footprint is very small. You know, there's nothing in Living Building Challenge that says you have to get to net zero carbon. You do have to be net positive on the water, the energy, and the waste, but it doesn't speak to carbon. But that ends up being basically a great outcome of what you are doing because your carbon footprint is very small. In this case, if you can see, you see those panels, I'm trying to point with my finger, that's not helpful. You see these panels right here that make up the ceiling. These were actually constructed on site by us. We self-performed this work. And these are made up of, I don't know if you know this, but Atlanta, Georgia is a big movie capital. There's a lot of movies that are made in that area of Georgia. And movie sets have a lot of wood waste, just a ton, because they just go through 2x4s every day. And so we have a local center there in Atlanta called the Life Cycle Building Center, where they take salvaged materials. So they've been partnering for a number of years with that movie industry in making sure that the materials that come off those movie sets is being pulled back into the supply chain and being salvaged. And so these panels are made up of 2x4s from movie sets and 2x6s that were FSC, Forest Stewardship Council certified wood, and constructed in a warehouse nearby so that we could control them. To be honest, this saved the client over $500,000 because we built them ourselves. It also meant that we created something that was so strong, and this is where the carbon story comes in as well. They're so strong that we did not have to put as much cement into the concrete pour above each of these panels. So, you know, all of this concrete floor, let me see if I can go down here. This is, you know, what the concrete floor looks like up here on these upper decks. We didn't have to put in nearly as much cement. And you probably know cement as an admixture makes up 80 to 90% of the carbon footprint of concrete. So anytime that we can replace that cement with something else, it's a good day. And it was just a better product in terms of how it worked with the radiant flooring. We also pumped carbon into this concrete. There's a product called Carbon Cure. You have a literal tank on your site that's full of carbon brought from, let's say, like a coal plant or some other type of facility, and it literally gets pumped into the concrete to sequester it. So this is really low impact product right here. The other story I would tell about those decks, because I mean, wood's just beautiful anyway. But the other story I would tell about these is that we partnered with an organization called Georgia Works. And so, you know, I said we constructed these right on site. Georgia Works is an organization that helps people that have barriers to employment. So whether they had been in jail, if they had low education, if they've been homeless and they've not been able to get back on their feet, Georgia Works works with those folks to find them jobs. And so we used 6 individuals from that program to build these 489 massive panels, because they're actually quite large, you know, modules that then got lifted into place. Of those 6 individuals, 2 have continued to be full-time employees of ours, and the others now have a resume. They have, you know, the skills as a carpenter, and they've been out working as a carpenter and rebuilding their lives. And so it's just a beautiful story and great example of how we can bring equity into the story of materials as well. So I do want to show you, the apiary because I love it. So, oh, it's not working. Oh, it's just thinking. It's taking time to think. So this is the rooftop garden. It's full of edible plants. As you can see, there is amenity space out here where people can sit and enjoy their lunch or whatever they want to do. And so we've got blueberry bushes, we've got Muscati grape plants, which are native to the area. We've got some corn and sunflowers. And over here, let's see if it'll let me go. Over here, we have these beautiful beehives, very coveted to get honey from these beehives. And I suspect that they'll be adding a lot more of these soon. And the cool thing is too, that this little cafe space over here is actually where they keep the beekeeper materials. And it's just, to me, that's just so special that that's part of that cafe experience. That's part of that amenity space, is that this is also, you know, keeping in mind, many of the classes that will take place here are science-based. There's a geology room, there's some lab space, right? And so this to me is just having an outdoor science room, basically, as well as a space where you can have parties and other things. Let me see if there's anything else. Oh, water. Let me talk briefly about water because everyone asks about the toilets, the toilet situation. Like I said, Living Building Challenge requires net positive water. And that means everything, not just rainwater and gray water. So in terms of rainwater, the solar panel system also has piping embedded into it. So the rainwater is feeding down into a 50,000 gallon cistern. That water is then processed to become drinking water. It's literally being called the smallest municipal water treatment plant in all of Georgia because it's all being done right on site. For gray water, which is what comes out of the sinks and the showers, that is being taken directly out, filtered, of course, but then taken directly out to benefit the landscaping areas. And then black water. So black water from the toilets. This is an interesting story because there was a lot of work. And let me see if I can actually show you the get into the tags here. Let's go to, oh, it's not good. Let me do it. I'll have to reboot here and then I'll go to water. So I'll talk while I'm clicking here. They're composting toilets, as you would expect, because that's basically how you get to the point of net positive water. And we had a number of different types that we were looking at up until the very end because there were so many considerations. A lot of those composting toilets use quite a bit of energy. And since you're trying to get to net positive energy in a building like this, you have to weigh that out and decide if, you know, that's the benefit you want, is that it's better at composting, you know, immediately versus sitting in a tank and composting. Anyway, there's a lot of variables there. The one that we ended up with, let me get to the tags here, is a composting toilet that's foam based. And so, sorry, I really want to show you these. Here we go. And they only use a tablespoon of water. And what happens is that tablespoon of water then activates a foam, and that foam coats the inside of the toilet. So there's very, very little liquid involved here. The liquid is only having to come out about, like normal toilets, by the way. Normal US toilets. I mean, you know, like they, you know, just look normal to anything else, except for this little box back here, which is where the foam component comes in. So that tablespoon of water activates everything. The water and the solids get separated, of course. The water gets taken out and trucked about once a month to a wastewater treatment plant. So it's going where it needs to go, not into the regular sewer system. And then any solids, usually it takes about 2 to 3 months for the solids to build up, because there's a wood shaving system in that kind of container tank at the end of that that's constantly kind of helping with that digestion process. And so that does not build up very quickly. And that's also getting reused in a way that is beneficial to the planet. So anyway, I mean, there's 100 things about this building that I could share. I hate to leave you on the image of the toilet, but you know, it's an incredible building. The certification for Living Building Challenge should happen next month, because it's been in operations and has been going through its audits and its proving time a year. And LEED Platinum, of course, will happen very quickly. Just, you know, they've been pulling it together. They just haven't submitted it yet. So I'm excited to answer any questions about that once we get to Q&A.
Yes, great. Excellent. Thank you, Myrrh, for this very rich and incredible case study, and as well a very visual way of leading us through the case study. I will share with you a couple of learning points from the Singapore case study that I identified in the program as the mystery case study for you. And I will basically share with you a couple of key points on that. I will not really pull any slides up, because otherwise it might take too long. It's basically United World College in Singapore. And the amazing thing about it is that it saved 7% of construction costs. Now, can you imagine that? Most of the time, people think when you build a green building, you have to add on all those extras or a sustainable building to achieve the criteria of the standard. Now here, the key, I think, when I visited the building was the innovation that they applied and how they worked together as a group. Simon, the project manager there, he was actually driving the project, and he knew exactly what he wanted. He wanted maximum efficiency at lowest cost. If you were going to spend extra money for something that is more expensive because it's more efficient, you have to save the money somewhere else through efficiency. One of the simple ways they saved a lot of money and as well heat in terms of cooling load later on, they designed the campus in a U shape. Never at any time of the day they had low-lying sun hitting the classrooms. So they didn't need blinds, and they had no heat built up coming from the sun. They had no glare because of the design of the U shape, and the outside where maybe the morning sun was the outer wall of the building. And in the inner U shape were the windows where the natural light was coming in, but no heat. Normally in a building like that, the architect will hide the pipes for the cold water that carries the cooling load throughout the building immediately in the wall, 90-degree bends. They decided, no, let's make it low flow resistant, as straight as possible, no sharp bends. Normally you would need 5 horsepower pumps to pump it through a building like that. In their building, they only use 2 horsepower pumps. So massive savings there. Normally in Singapore, it's a requirement in the ducts to have those little fans for the restrooms to bring in the fresh air. That's a legal requirement. They decided, let's make a passive open system where, especially where you're washing the hands, you were looking either at the forest or at the road, and it was an open concept. There were no closed windows, everything was open. So cross ventilation was coming through there, and they argued with the government, why put in fans if we have nature doing it by itself, exchanging the air and bringing the fresh air in? They were rejected first time, they were rejected another time because the government said that's a legal requirement. But once the officials from the government visited them and they got shown how it was working in operation, even the regulatory approval authority actually had to say, you are correct. The passive design that you guys have got here is doing what the legislation intends those fans to do. So they saved money on not needing those fans in the ducts. And obviously they're saving money in operation because there are no fans. that are consuming electricity. The classrooms as well, amazing. They bought a huge amount of low noise and low electricity fans to keep the classroom cool together with the centralized cooling. But because they had no heat built up coming from the sun, the classrooms were always naturally already cool. Those super fans, Simon as well told me, you know what? If you simplify things and use the power of procurement, you can save a lot of money. Every classroom had the same kind of fan. Every part of the building had the same LED light. He said, when I buy 100,000 light bulbs, all the same, I can get a super good deal. If I buy 25 different light bulbs, like normally the architects and the interior designers would want me to, then I can't get the volume discount. So streamlining, simplification, reducing the size of the cooling system with smart solutions, and coming up with innovation everywhere around the building. Even in the classrooms, sometimes it's difficult for teachers at schools and universities. You see it very often. You look at empty classrooms, the lights are on, the cooling system is still going on. They had one centralized switch where the teacher, after leaving the classroom, can press one button and all the electric items in the classroom are switched off. So this is an amazing example. You can Google it, United World College. You find a couple of things on the internet. Incredible case study. And really the way they achieved it was through teamwork. At the beginning, everybody worked together to come up with optimized solutions. If you let your architects or engineers do their own thing, you will not get these synergies that come when everybody sits around the table and works on the goal: maximum sustainability at lowest cost with maximum innovation and efficiency. Simon told me, normally, sometimes civil engineers, they like to put 6 wheels on a car or 8 legs on a chair because they want to be safe, but it's not really required, or it costs extra money. So really focusing on what is needed and how you can get rid of things that are not required if you do it in a different way. Passive cooling, passive design, and innovation through teamwork. Those were the ways how United World College achieved those amazing results. So now we open the floor for questions. Use the chat box. I would like to ask Fazlul, with kicking off our Q&A, what feedback have you been getting from your customers in Germany, in the US, based on your sustainability in terms of how you treat your employees and the factory and everything else?
Thank you, Matthias. And as far as the reaction from the customers, we are getting very positive response. And everybody, when they entered and they came to know, they say, wow, what a factory. And they always put their interest to work with us. But again, there is some negativity, that they say, wow, they are very interested. But, they're not ready to pay anything extra. So that's hard. Some of the entrepreneur I know, and that also deserted us a bit initially, but now we cope up with the situation. But still there is an opportunity because we have lots of customer available. So I can increase my negotiation capacity, negotiation power. So by that means I can also earn some extra money. So it is, I think it is paying us back. At the end of the day, it is paying us back, this initiative.
So you're in a position of choice, right? You can actually choose the customer rather than desperately needing to take any customer, correct?
Yes.
This is,
and we can proudly say to our customer, if you are looking really very cheap product, and then better, we are not the solution. So we feel that that kind of is strong within ourselves to say very strongly to our customer, negotiate strongly with our customer.
Yeah. We have a comment from Andreas. He says the word iconic suggests lighthouse projects that inspire and stand the test of time. The free cases certainly fit the bill. Congratulations. In Europe, we are currently considering to develop a new Bauhaus movement to develop an architectural style that brings together environmental performance and aesthetics. Very interesting. I would be very interested to hear the presenters' positions on the challenges faced when balancing energy performance, environmental sustainability, and aesthetics. Myrrh, I can see you smiling. I think you'll be happy to share your views on that, right?
Well, one thing that pops to mind immediately is, we talked about wood, and, wood has so many benefits. So, if you think about this, what we used to call, and Joyce will laugh at this, but starchitecture of certain eras or certain locations, it doesn't look good. It doesn't feel good. Just seeing like a plain concrete wall, it's from a speed of construction standpoint, it's great. You can do that prefab and you can lift it in place and have a building up in, a short amount of time. But, from the standpoint of like where those benefits are, where there's great synergies between products and energy conservation, wood, once again, is one of those great things where not only is it carbon sequestration, it's also a great thermal material. It's literally warmer. And so, you touch a concrete wall and it's cold. You touch a, wood beam or a wood panelized system, and you're not getting that chill off of it. So it's a much better option from that standpoint. And it meets that aesthetic quality. And as we all know these days, aesthetics and biophilia actually do lend themselves to our personal health, our mental and physical health, because, we feel calmer when we're around those natural elements. So I love that there's a Bauhaus movement happening. We've been very much doing the powerhouse movement in the Nordics. We have, when you're talking about the aesthetic of things, literally covering a whole building in solar panels, maybe some people find that aesthetically pleasing. Some people don't, but it is achieving some incredible outcomes in terms of net positive, even above the Arctic Circle. So yeah, it's a hard balance there.
I think there's as well a lot of innovation coming that is helping us to turn some of the materials that maybe in the past were not usable, like those old wood items from the movie industry. I've seen a Finnish technology recently. There is this iconic building, Lauri Theater in Finland. They have used those small diameter woods that normally get turned into biomass for power generation, which is not necessarily always the most sustainable solution, but with a special technology, they turned it into those wood planks that were all interlocking with one another, and the building looks absolutely amazing and beautiful. So you have kind of virtually wood waste turned into a carbon sink, beautifully looking building material with very high performance qualities that you can even use for exterior, and it lasts very long. So I think energy performance, environmental sustainability, and aesthetics can come increasingly together. And if you look at such technologies as what was applied there as well in the case study, the carbon cure, the making cement and concrete with fly ash, with blast furnace slag. We have some formulations that virtually use zero cement now, geopolymeric concrete, where you can suddenly have as well a concrete facade. Maybe that's not as aesthetic as a wooden one, but that is having a carbon footprint reduced by 70 or 80%. So some of these things are happening now as we speak. And Fazlul, we have another question for you. Did Plummy Fashion already have committed clients before you decided to build such a sustainable building, including all the extra cost for your solar panels? You had those clients lined up already, or you did it in good faith that they were going to
Yeah,
come.
I already replied to Mr. Dennis in the chat box that no, there is no prior commitment. The commitment was within ourselves, within myself, as I initially told, that is just to offset the bad name we earned because of the Rana Plaza and other accidents. We took this, as he finally commented, this is a brave initiative. Yes, it is a brave initiative because there is no pressure from anybody, no requirement, no commitment to anybody. So we just build it up to enhance the image of the country. There is some commitment for the industry, for the country, and to set up a new trend. And that's why we are successful.
I think we call this leadership. Fazlul was the president of the Bangladeshi Garment Association, and I think he decided after that Rama Plaza disaster, he needed to make a difference and show the world that Bangladesh can do different. And I think it comes down to that leadership commitment to move forward, invest your money as a risk capital and get rewarded for actually being a leader in the field. So that's what I love here. We have another question here. Is there any solution to make green projects in current buildings which don't yet follow the green building construction code, like green refurbishment? And actually, Dennis asked a follow-up question. I'm not sure whether, what kind of percentage increase did all of these additional green features add to the cost of your factory?
Yeah, this is a very difficult question to answer because there is a cost if we only took the building and all other things. It is a little bit expensive because when we build up the factory, nobody has any idea. The resources are not available, so we have to find it out. We have to source it out from even the toilet features. We have to import it from Singapore from a specific manufacturer which now is readily available in the local market. So we had to spend some extra money. But in terms of keeping the open space, if you consider the open space cost, that actually huge money. So it is, again, a very difficult way to answer the question, whether I will keep that open space, 50-60% open space into consideration. But in any respect, it is a bit expensive than any traditional way because we have to follow different norms. But as I answered your poll that, okay, in the ROI, it will pay you back in course of time.
Yeah, I think, there are different experiences depending on the approach that has been taken, and some things cost more but deliver return on investment. That's why I think as well the radical approach of the United World College, where they said, yes, we want all those efficiencies, we want those extras, we want a bit of solar panels on the roof, but at the same time, we need to save in other areas so that those improvements are cost neutral. That's, I think, is a very interesting strategy. And then you get, for the savings that you implemented, the actual cost reduction. Now, we had this question about existing buildings. Myrrh, maybe you have some thoughts on that. How can people retrofit or readjust existing buildings to make them more compliant with green building standards?
Yeah, and some of the things that I think of are not just green, they're also on the health side. So, that may be an easier justification right now to do renovations that are going to benefit the health of the occupants, right? So there's a number of things. The first thing I always point at is, one of the best ways to make your building efficient is to improve the envelope. And people go, oh my gosh, that sounds really expensive. But simple things like taking spray insulation and choosing the right one, trying to avoid the really, heavy duty ones. But, bat insulation, which is what is typically used in most countries, will sink in the wall over time because it starts to compress because of gravity. And so you end up having cavities of air at the tops of walls. And since heat rises, if you're trying to keep a building warm, that heat is now migrating out through the tops of those walls. If you could really afford it, having a thermal scan done of your building so that you do know where you need to improve your insulation would be good. But even if you don't have that money, the spray companies can come in, they can concentrate on, you know, the known areas, the upper parts of walls. It's not very intrusive actually, because they basically just core a hole into the drywall or whatever surface you have on the wall. That's going to improve your efficiency and reduce the amount of heat and cool that's leaving your home or building pretty immediately, right? You know, there's other things like, I mean, the benefits to that too are that, you know, when you have outdoor air coming in, it's getting conditioned to the level that you need it to be, right? So, you know, the filtration will be more efficient. The whole system in its entirety is just better. You know, I think too of glazing. So old glazing, old windows can be highly inefficient. But there are films out there now that you can apply, and they've done this even on historic buildings like the Empire State Building, to basically add a layer of insulation, add R value to the building. To me, that's a huge boost. And those films are pretty readily available. So anyway, there's a long list. I know we've got a time consideration here. Maybe Matthias, do you have more that you would throw in that bucket?
Yeah, I have one idea. We had as well a comment from Mario about residential buildings. And I remember a good friend, Kevin, who is a friend of Joyce as well. I'm not sure whether Juvie ever met him. He used to live in Subic. And the simple thing he did was that wall that was getting the sun hitting his building, he put a small steel construction around that wall and then put creeper plants on there. It made his building beautiful and nice, and it basically prevented the heat from the sun to heat up his concrete wall, which is the reason why it's hot at night here in our humid climates in Southeast Asia. So together with some cross ventilation, he made an opening at the bottom and the air could go out at the top. He suddenly didn't need aircon anymore. And that was a simple low-cost retrofit that achieved additional biophilia plants around the house with those creeper plants cooling and shading his wall. So there are very great and simple ideas like that that deliver huge ROI with small cost, and it's excellent facilities. So we have as well somebody congratulating Mr. Hoque for his leadership. That's excellent. Somebody is asking for any helplines to get suggestions. Are you aware, Myrrh, whether there are any helplines out there where people can just call up and say, hey, what tips can you give me for making my existing construction and convert it to a more sustainable construction? I'm not aware of any such helpline. Maybe GSX needs to start such a helpline.
You know, here in the States, of course, you can call the Department of Energy or the EPA, and they have a lot of those resources available for citizens. Probably you can get those same lists by going to their websites, no matter what country you're in. But your local Department of Energy or Department of Environment probably has a pretty well-established list of strategies that they're promoting. They may even have within that package links to how you might get rebates for different products. Just like they used to give rebates all the time when you'd put in solar or LED lighting. There's still those kind of rebates out there for homeowners, depending on what your grid and your government provides.
Yeah, great, excellent. So we had Bob as well making a couple of comments. He is doing some publications on leaders. So I think you have in Myrrh and Mr. Fazlul Hoque great examples. Maybe you want to get in touch with them directly. You made already the connection with Joyce. I will just do our exit poll now, and then we will have some closing remarks from Joyce. Let me go to our final poll. And okay, I need to get poll number 2 up in my system. Here we go. Where are you? That is sometimes the challenge. Now here we are, our follow-up poll. Again, multiple choice for you. How would you like to follow up this event? Join the GSX LinkedIn group, have somebody from GSX contact you, get the presentation slide, get part of our newsletter, and maybe you need some green building support or consulting. Let us know what your needs are. We will follow up with you after the event. And it was great to have you all here. It's been an excellent and amazing session. I learned a lot. I'm really inspired. We had a great case study from Bangladesh, Singapore, and USA. Our next event will be on the 9th of December, our official town hall. But I have something else for you. I thought next week, Wednesday, let's just have a little get together Wednesday evening, our time here in the Philippines, 9 o'clock, and it's 8 a.m. US time. Here are the polling results. I will actually share that in the chat while Joyce is going to give us her closing remarks. Here you can just see the results. It's great to have many of you wanting to connect on LinkedIn and have the presentation slides. We will follow up with you on that. And we would love to invite you on that event. It's a very informal get-together next week, Wednesday, 8 a.m. EST time and 9 p.m. Singapore time. I thought it would be great just to follow up and discuss more about these case studies, what we have learned, without any presentations, just exchange of information. So Joyce, can I ask you to basically say your closing remarks? We actually have a couple of people wanting to join that came 1 hour late because originally it was 9 a.m. US time, but with the change, it's changed to 8 a.m. So Tom and I think somebody else who just joined, we're just closing and wrapping up because of the time change. It actually started an hour ago. So we're just on the closing remarks of Joyce. Joyce, are you there?
Okay, there we go. Sorry about that, I was muted. I'm really encouraged and inspired. Many times I hear from architects and builders that it can't be done, it's too expensive. You guys all know what the feedback is, but when you look at these cases, I truly, we have so much to share with the world. And I think the question for everyone is, how do we push these examples out there into the world? And I think we can do that obviously through social media and LinkedIn, and share with very specific groups that all of this is possible, and share with the world that it's all solution oriented. So I just really want to thank you for a very, very inspiring conversation. And also I would like to see if you guys in the GSX group page on LinkedIn, if you would share with us what topics are important for you. What do you need from us? How can we help you? We're here, we're building a great community, and we've had amazing turnout from people all over the world. And I think that's very exciting as well. We're becoming a global community. So I just want to thank everyone for attending, and thank you so much to our speakers. You guys are, you rock. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Joyce, for your closing remarks. I posted the link for the get-together that I want to hold next week, Wednesday, 8 a.m. EST and 9 p.m. Singapore, just to chit-chat a little bit about these case studies and what we can do. Thank you so much for everybody participating, and see you again soon. And please connect with us on LinkedIn and on social media. All the best. Thank you so much for great learnings today.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.